They say motherhood is a journey, but let's be honest, sometimes it feels more like a roller coaster with no seatbelt. I bet you're like me, wondering why babies, or teens in my case, don't come with instruction manuals. Welcome to This Incredible Mom Life, the podcast that celebrates the beautiful chaos, quiet wins, messy moments, and everyday miracles of being a mom. I'm your host, Dummy, wellness coach, mom of 3 boys, and a passionate believer that you don't have to live at the mercy of PMS, burnout, or exhaustion. Join me every week as we hear the craziest and most unbelievable mom stories. I'll be sharing the huge accomplishments and triumphs of both our moms and their kids. We'll giggle, cheer on the kids, and discuss obstacles and lessons learned along the way. If you are struggling to be the best mom you can be, how open-minded are you to booking a free call with me? You don't have to live at the mercy of your cycle, and you definitely don't have to do it alone. Give yourself permission to let me be part of your support system. I believe that you weren't meant to just survive motherhood. You were meant to thrive in it. Welcome back. Today, I want to introduce you to a super bonus mom, and today's conversation is one you won't forget. Danielle Frank traded red carpets for red wine and never looked back. After starting her career in Hollywood publicity at Miramax International, she pivoted into the wine and spirits world, where she spent more than 21 years building luxury brands at Bacardi and Moët Hennessy, working with legendary champagne and wine houses, including Dom Pérignon, Moët Chandon, and Veuve Clicquot. In 2025, she uncorked her debut humor book, A Wine Lover's Guide to Parenting, a witty take on family life inspired by her role as a proud aunt, auntie to many friends' kids, bonus mom, and professional observer of chaos. With a background spanning entertainment, luxury, hospitality, and publishing, Danielle brings humor, heart, and a sharp point of view to everything she does, always reminding us to savor the moment. Thank you, Danielle, for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you so much for having me on your great podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've read your book already, and it's hilarious. So excited for you to share about it. But first, let's talk about who you are a bonus mom to.
Yes, well, it's no longer, they're always in my life. But I was a bonus mom. My ex-fiance, we broke it off because he didn't want more kids, and I had always wanted kids. But I got to be the bonus mom to his kids for many, many years that we were together. And as you said in my intro, I'm an auntie extraordinaire to so many of my friends' kids call me Aunt Danielle. But I love the bonus mom. I grew up with a bonus mom myself, so I loved stepping into that role when I was with my ex-fiance and with his kids, and it was a great experience.
Nice. So share a story about them.
Yeah, so my story, really one of the most profound lessons I've learned from empathy came from, a chapter of this story when I was a bonus mom to my ex-fiance's son. And I just remember, also what made this experience especially meaningful, was that I wasn't coming into it blindly. I had been that kid, and I knew what it was like to be that kid in between divorced parents, to navigate different households, different expectations, sometimes, unspoken loyalties. And, there's a quiet emotional complexity in that position that kids don't always have the language to express. So I completely empathized with his son on this. But, his son was at our house. It was a Monday, so he'd school the next day, and he forgot his homework at his mom's house. And I'll never forget my ex, like, one was furious, and I was just like, no big deal. I can run him to pick it up in the morning, run him to school. And this really was a defining moment. This might have been what was on the path of me breaking off my engagement, actually. But my ex became furious with me. He told me to stay out of it, and no, he's got to learn. And, that was really one heartbreaking for me for the son, because as I said, like, I knew exactly what the son is going through, shuffling between 2 houses, But it was also, eye-opening to me about my ex that like, here's somebody that was not, willing to learn to integrate me into the co-parenting situation. And that was sort of one of the many red flags.
Yeah.
As I said, I wanted kids and he said he would have more kids. And ultimately it became clear he didn't. So, seeing all these things is what helped, propel me into the decision of not getting married because I knew it would not be a successful one.
So did you end up and go back and get the homework?
No, we didn't. He wouldn't let me, and and because it was like a fight for like a good week, but and the poor kid. But hopefully I think it taught a little bit to my ex as well, just about on developing a little empathy for this kid in this situation, because this fight did drag on for a week, and I did share about how, again, how I was that kid in that situation, and like you just, it's important to understand what they're going through. They didn't do this by choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough for them to go to two different houses, right? It's very understandable that he forgot. Um, and I'm glad that there are a lot of families where the co-parenting works out and it's, very cooperative and helpful. So lesson learned, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm hoping, it instilled in him, in that my ex as well, just a little empathy. He could use a little bit more, but and sharing with him that, what it might feel like for them, and even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. And for me at least, it really enforced that empathy is a bridge. It really softens the tension, builds the trust, creates space for connection, and that's been a defining moment for me moving forward in so many things that I do as well.
Yeah. Um, I love that. I love that you offered and were, willing to help out, and even if it didn't work out. Now I am not a wine expert, as you probably heard in the introduction. So we're going to talk to you, who you are. But tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got there.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in my intro, I started in entertainment, and then as I say, traded red carpets for red wine. I decided to get out of the entertainment industry, and I just fell into this business, and I thought it would be temporary. But here I am, just going on 22 years in the wine and spirits industry. It's a really fun industry, and when you get to represent fantastic brands. That's, equally a bonus, and equally as important when you're selling a brand, promoting and working with a brand that you believe in, and brands that have so much history. So it's, it's great. And part of what I love about this industry is it's all about storytelling. It's not just about the liquid in the bottle, it's the story behind it, the history, the heritage, the romanticism, what it evokes in people, the memories, the feeling, where were you when you first enjoyed it? And I'm, a natural born storyteller. I've always enjoyed writing. And so it's been a side hobby for me. So, I wrote this book when I broke off my engagement. I wrote this book, A Wine Lover's Guide to Parenting, back about 14 years ago. So it's sort of like merged all my worlds, my realization of, that I wasn't going to become a mom, coupled with my love for storytelling, my love for, wanting to still have an impression on how kids are raised in this world. Um, and then my love of wine, and wanting to make wine terminology and learning about wine fun and accessible. So there I birthed my baby, this book, A Wine Lover's Guide to Parenting. But I didn't put it into fruition because, as you can imagine, it's very hard to get things published. But yeah, a few months ago I finally published it, and I get to share it with the world.
I love that. How did you figure out this analogy with wine and kids? Where did that come from?
I realized raising kids and appreciating wine actually just have a lot in common beyond that they can both just stain your carpet. As someone who spent, my career in wine, and as you said, a very observant auntie, bonus mom, I started noticing the parallels between wine terminology and human behavior. And it just became a playful way to celebrate, sort of the chaos, the humor, the fun, the humanity of parenting. And I always say, not being a mom is actually the secret sauce because I've spent years watching parents from the outside, and with a lot of affection, with a lot of honesty, with a lot of humor, but without the sleep deprivation. And, I get to notice the humor in the moments that parents are sometimes too deep in to laugh at. So,
Yeah.
it just started to click to me. And really what started it was I was watching my niece and nephew one day, and they were much younger then. One's graduating college, one just started, and they're great kids, but of course every kid has the propensity to whine a little bit. So they were whining about something, and I said, Aunt Danielle drinks wine. She doesn't listen to wine. And that just became the aha moment to me. Oh, this is really fun, and at the time a book came out called Go the F to Sleep.
Hmm.
If you're familiar with it, it sort of opened up this new genre of adult children's book. And I love that idea of, again, I'm not a clinical psychologist. I didn't, study parenting. This is meant to be fun, tongue in cheek. And I thought writing it in the style of a rhyming children's illustrated book was the perfect way to marry that. And then also as somebody in the wine industry, I love, like I said, making wine knowledge accessible. Like it shouldn't be jarring, it shouldn't be daunting. When I go to dinner with my friends, they're always handing me the wine list, and it shouldn't be that way. Like wine it's subjective. What I like, you may not like, and it doesn't have to be scary. So every time I use wine terminology in the book, it gives the definition. So it's a fun way to laugh, learn about wine, and think about just raising your kid in a great way.
Nice. And you also talk about challenges that women face when they go through life transitions. Is that something else you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I've been doing this podcast circuit, I love doing all these podcasts. As somebody who listens to podcasts, it's become my favorite medium of absorbing information because it's just these natural conversations, and that's, what we see on Instagram, these static posts of, oh my God, life's so great. It's not reality. These real conversations are reality. And so as I've been promoting this book and doing a lot of podcasts, it's become more about than just the book. It's become, sharing my story, and I love that. I love sharing my story, that has been sort of rooted in transformation. And I enjoy shining a light on how embracing life's pivots, even when they don't match the checklist, is it can be very freeing and it can be very empowering. And through these, I know for me, through these pivots in career, relationship, identity, I've learned that embracing change isn't failure. It's quite the opposite. It can lead you to discover a whole new journey, discover a new path that maybe you were meant to be on all along. And like I said, I wanted to be a mom, and that changed for me when my ex-fiance um said he didn't want more kids. And when I realized that path wasn't happening for me, I realized nurturing doesn't go away. And when you dive headfirst into that new path rather than wallow in the sadness of what didn't happen, it'll propel you forward, and it can be really empowering. It really can.
I love that because I think we all go through transitions and change and evolve. And you can either see it, right, as you said, as a failure and as something that went wrong, or um, like what can you learn from it to move forward and evolve. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, when we pause long enough just to listen and to pivot, or listen and learn, our pivots sort of become invitations, not endings. It leads us towards, work and life, and a part of our lives that feel more aligned and honest, and can be very fulfilling. I always say there's no one yellow brick road directly to Oz, right? There's lots of paths along the way,
Yes.
and you step off one path and you head onto a new one, like see where that takes you. And because it can be a very exciting road ahead.
Yeah, I say that too. My husband and I have done like a lot of different self-help seminars and books and things. And I'm like, there's that happy place, but if you get through it from religion or from, all these self-help books or seminar or retreat, or it doesn't, and you can go through many different paths, right? And but you get there, and that's great. I love that. Nice mission. So talk about your book. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, if I could share a chapter, I'd love to
Sure.
share it. So, a wine lover's guide to parenting, the fine art of wine and wine management. 11 lessons on how to raise your kids well, all related to wine terminology. Rhymes, illustrated like a children's book, but definitely not made for kids. And as I said, every time I use wine terminology, it gives the definition. At the back of the book gives a basic understanding of how wine is made. Also gives a recipe for mulled wine in the chapter, Is Your Kid a Mulled Wine? And again, people have said, again, I'm not a mom, but it's all basic human behavior, right? You don't need to be a mom to know good behaviors in human beings. And, that's what book is paralleling, right? Teaching your kids manners, teaching them to be worldly, giving them room to breathe. It's all human behavior that you don't need to have birthed a child to know. So I'll read you a chapter called You Don't Want Your Kids to Ferment. So in wine terminology, fermentation is the process where you convert sugar into alcohol. So sugar is sugar is something obviously sweet. We think of something sweet. Alcohol, we think of something harsh and biting. So this is about you don't want your kid turning from somebody sweet into harsh and biting because they don't have manners. Manners, manners, manners are the key to it all. These lessons need to start even when they're small. Teach them this from day one before they start to crawl. You don't want your kid to be the sour grape in the bunch and turn into a spoiled brat that kids want to punch. When they start talking, make sure they know thank you and please, and to always say bless you when they hear someone sneeze. Please and thank you are an absolute must. Without that, your child's a total bust. There's nothing worse than a child who has behavior that is crude, because it'll continue as they're older and become someone who's rude. People don't take kindly to and aren't nice to those with attitude because it's very off-putting and puts others in a bad mood, oftentimes causing confrontation and leads to a nasty feud. Wanting to put a little bit of poison in your child's food. Is that really how you want your kids to be viewed? Wouldn't you prefer there's someone who's wooed? Without manners, they'll ferment and turn into someone harsh and biting. They may turn into a kid who's rude, obnoxious, and always fighting. So teach your kids some manners and to have some heart and soul. Without that, your kid may well turn into an a-hole.
I love that. Yes, and the rest of the book is just like that. So if you liked that chapter, go check out the rest of that book.
Thank you.
Where's the book available?
The book is available online at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. It's a great gift for, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, teachers, or anyone who just likes a good humor book. It's a great baby shower gift. You pair it with a little onesie, you're done.
Nice. I was just telling you before we started recording, we have a friend who's a wine shop owner, and I was like, I'm going to get you a copy of this.
Yes, wine shops should be carrying it everywhere. It's one of those, impulse gifts, and it's perfect. It's just a great humor book.
It's very unique too. I can guarantee you nobody has this, so you won't be repeating gifts. That is great. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Please do find me on Instagram at Create a Great Story. I also have a website, DanielleFrankAuthor.com.
Nice. I will put those links below. If you want to learn more about wine, if you want to have a good laugh, or if your kid has left their homework at another house, send a message to Danielle. I'm sure she would love to hear it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was lovely chatting with you.
This was really great. Again, if you want a good laugh and just fun, hearty book about raising your kids, go find the parenting guides, Wine Lover's Guide to Parenting. Awesome. Well, this was so fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and this is your reminder that incredible moms and bonus moms aren't perfect. They're intentional. And when a mom feels strong, her whole family feels it. Thank you for spending this time with me, and you will see me again next week on This Incredible Mom Life.
Are you struggling to be the best mom you can be? Are you fatigued, overwhelmed, and stressed out? Are you losing precious time with your family because of PMS? If so, sign up for my free gift on how to start living in tune with your monthly cycle. The link to get it is in the show notes below. Use this guide to help you start to eliminate your symptoms of PMS, increase your energy, reduce stress, and fully enjoy this incredible mom life. The way I see it, you have 3 choices. You can try to figure it all out on your own. You can do nothing and stay where you are, or you can get the customized guidance you need to thrive as a mom. The choice is yours. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something from these stories. If you enjoyed this show, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. It really helps this show grow. If you have a mom story you would like to share, click on the link in the description below on becoming a podcast guest. Remember, the content on this podcast is for general information only. It does not replace any medical advice given by your healthcare providers. Please check with your doctor if you have any questions about your specific condition and before starting any new diet or exercise regimen. Thank you, and you